In the event of a crash, your bike's protruding engine components, controls, and frame are vulnerable to severe damage. Having frame sliders installed may make the difference between crashing out for the day and being able to pick up your bike and ride it away. By installing frame sliders, you can limit the extent of the damage sustained, reduce repair costs, and also ensure that the oil stays in the motor and gravel and debris stay out. The components in this set are manufactured out of high-quality impact-absorbing Delrin and aircraft-grade billet aluminum. Each set comes standard with black center caps used to hide the fasteners. For a customized look, the center caps are available in white, as well as several anodized colors. For best results, we recommend installing swingarm spool sliders, fork slider, and engine case savers along with these frame sliders to distribute impact areas. For other crash protection components installation videos, please follow the links at the end of this video. Now, we will have Bart walk you through the installation procedure.
Hey guys, Bart from TST Industries here. In this video, we're going to show you the installation of these Womet-Tech frame sliders on a 2015 and up Yamaha R3. So I know some of you guys out there are looking for the no-cut type frame sliders, but these often prove very ineffective and just shear right off. For that reason, we only sell the cut type sliders. But what we do that other companies don't, we provide templates that go on the inside of your fairings and make locating the hole for the frame slider really easy. So we're going to start the install now. I hope you guys can follow along. So in the first step, we'll be removing this panel here. Once the screws are out, we need to pull this out this way to clear the friction fasteners on the inside. There's one here and one here. You have these friction rivets that go into those. They just pull out. I will continue with this panel on top here under the bars. Once these screws are out, there are two additional rivet type fasteners on the inside here. They are quarter turn. Reset them by unscrewing them a quarter turn and they just pop out. And at this point, we can start pulling this off. Sorry guys, I forgot about this quarter turn fastener. I'm going to remove that one as well. Okay, now it's loose and it's ready to come out. There are additional captive fasteners here. You basically just lift on this and pull it back, and that motion will clear these guys out of their accepting geometry. And at that point, this just comes off and we'll put it to the side. Now we can start focusing on this black panel here. We will remove its fasteners. Jump to the bottom here. Here's the last one. And at this point, we will need to clear the bottom tab from under this panel, and then also clear a tab from here. And that will disengage these sliding clips from this fairing, and we take this piece off. All right, so in this next step, we will be removing the fasteners holding this panel on. We'll start at the bottom here. These are Phillips heads. One likes to bind up in there. I'm giving it a couple smacks from the outside, clears it out. And there is a quarter turn fastener here on the bottom. joining the two side panels together. Same one as we found up top here. So now that these screws are out, we're going to move to the next step, which is to remove this fastener here. I want to take it off with the washer. There's another 10mm hex up here. And lastly, one more Phillips in this location. Now, this panel should be free to come off. We will need to disengage the sliding clips in this area. To do that, I will first pop out this black piece here, and then slide this whole fairing down towards the nose of the bike. And that will disengage this from the rest of the fairings and the body. And now we will just need to unhook the signal wire. Here, our setup is plug and play, so this is very easy. This will just come off and we could put this fairing to the side. All right, so now we will bring this fairing to our work table, and we will need to mark out where the hole for the frame slider will go. We will prep our work surface with some sort of a rag or a towel that will protect the surface, the outer surface of the fairing, so that way it doesn't get scratched up. All right. So here we have our templates. So for the purpose of this video, we went ahead and actually cut them out already. This is what they should look like. You just cut out the black box, cut out the little insert, and then you're good to go. You just have to make sure that you're working on the left fairing, you pick the right one. So we will superimpose this template over this geometry here. There's one single boss with one of these friction fasteners on it on the whole panel. So it's very simple to put this template in the right place. Now I will want to use some painter's tape, or any masking tape really, to fix it in place so that when I go to drill this, it stays put. One important thing here, the top of this boss needs to be aligned with the top of the little insert cut here. So once I get that aligned nicely, I will fix it in place with the tape. The precision of your cut will depend largely on how meticulous you are with this step. So I advise that this is done very carefully. And it looks like we're good to go. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to take the step drilling approach. So first I'm going to locate the dead center of our hole center indicated on the template, and I'm going to drill through with an 1/8 inch bit. Once I have that, I can get rid of this template. And then we could switch over to our hole saw. I'm using a 2 1/8 inch or 54mm hole saw. This is actually 2mm larger in diameter than the puck of the frame sliders, and I do this purposely because there are tolerances involved in how all these things fit together. I want to have just a little bit of space outside of my puck so that my fairing goes on and off the bike really easily. So at this point, I'm gonna start drilling, and I'm gonna use very, very light pressure. Also want to make sure that I go in line with the axis of this boss as much as possible. And then I also don't want to drill into the cloth because it'll start spinning underneath the fairing. I'm gonna go very slow here in the beginning. one additional note. If you're holding it from the other side, make sure your fingers are clear of where the hole saw is going to be coming out. All right, so now our hole drilling is complete. We will probably want to neaten up the outside with a file so that the paint doesn't peel back. I'm gonna go grab a file now and we can finish this off. So now I will just trim a little bit of this flanged plastic from the outside from melting that occurred during using the saw. Just use this utility knife to get rid of some of that bulk. Just need to be careful not to cut into the surface that we need to retain. All right, now I'm just going to use a file that is slightly round in profile, and I'm only going to use the file in this direction so that I don't, on the way back, I don't take a chance of peeling the paint back to the outside. Alright, so this looks good now. I'm pleased with the result. Now we're going to go over to the bike and install the left side frame slider, and then we could reinstall all these components back on the bike and then move on to the right side. Alright, so now we will need to locate the engine mount that we will be mounting into. Remove this rubber cap. We will find it right under there. We will use a 8mm Allen. We will remove the bolt and washer. And now we will build the Womet-Tech frame slider on this location in the following order. First, a large shoulder spacer, and then the Delrin slider, and then on the bolt we will have the small aluminum spacer and then the washer just below the head. So we'll go ahead and start threading that in by hand. You want to make sure that you start by hand, that way you don't cross thread the thread into the motor mount. Once I bottom this thing out, I will take my torque wrench and set it on 37 foot-pounds. And now I will tighten this down to that specified torque. Okay. Everything looks good. These sliders come with this cap that allows you to cover the hardware inside. We do offer these in a couple different colors. For this bike, we're going to use a red cap because it It matches with the rest of the red and black theme. Give a nice accent and just press this in, and that's ready to go. The rubber cap will not be reused. Now we can continue by installing the fairing back on this side. So we'll start the process by the reverse order of disassembly. The last step in the disassembly was the removal of this wire here. So we're going to start with that. I'm going to keep it loose for now. I will reroute it through these guiding clips later. I'm just really anxious to see this poke through, see the final product. So the first step in putting this fairing back on is here in the nose. We have to engage these sliding clips with their locating geometry here. And that will allow us to pull this back and into lock position here. And then we'll locate it on here and on top here. And we'll start fastening everything down. All right, so now I will put the 10mm hex head on top here, going into the frame. Careful not to cross thread it. And when it bottoms out, I'm just going to tighten it up. Now the Phillips head screw up front here. And now I will reroute all my wiring on the inside, basically putting it in the guides where it was originally. All right, that looks good. Now I will place this washer on this component here along with the nut. And we can tighten that up. That is on a rubber grommet, so it still allows some adjustability here. Now I will continue with the inner part of this fairing, getting all the components back, snapping them back together in the fashion that they were from the factory. There's a series of snaps here that engage all the panels together. Now I will replace this quarter turn fastener from the bottom. I detected a problem with how I put this together. I have to make sure that it's in the right orientation. All right, and that looks good. I just have to re-engage these clips on the inside, and I'll be ready to replace the Phillips head screws that we took out in an earlier step. So the reason why I do this one side at a time typically is because when removing all these components, you end up with a bunch of fasteners laying around, and this makes it a lot simpler to go this way. And also you end up only undoing one side of the engine mount from the frame to mount your frame sliders in, and that allows the motor to stay in place and not droop down. So I highly recommend that you do this with one side at a time. And now we're just gonna continue with our reinstallation here. I'm gonna continue with this panel. Basically, first we need to re-engage these sliding clips with their captive geometry on the inside. This is very simple. As soon as you take a look at the inside of that fairing, you'll see exactly what needs to be done. Now it just needs to be slid towards the top. And what we'll do here is install one of the fasteners in it so that it could keep this fairing in place as we engage the top clip. The top here in this location right down here has another clip that needs to go under this panel. Just like that. Now we just grab the appropriate tool and we'll continue. This longer screw goes on the bottom here through this grommet. All right, so now we have this one panel up front here. We'll bring it in just like this. We just have to clear all the geometry that it needs to clear, bring it into place. All right, I'm looking good here. Now we have a series of sliding clips that have locating geometry on this panel. They need to be inserted in the larger portion again and slid towards the front. And that's looking good. We can replace this fastener here. This is one of those quarter turn fasteners, as well as the ones that we took off from the inside. They just pop back into place. And now we have two fasteners left over that will fit up top here, as well as in this location here up front. And that step leads us to the last step in the reinstallation of all the panels on the left side of the bike. Now we'll need to just align the friction fasteners here with their captive geometry here, while also fitting this ridge under the seat. Once these pop in, we can replace these two fasteners and the bike will be ready to go. All right, so the process is complete on this side. We'll move on to the right side of the bike and we will repeat the exact procedure on that side. The parts from Womet are actually exactly the same on both sides of the bike, so there is no distinction to be made between all the parts. We will probably just go and fast forward right through all the steps without narration. For those of you that really want it broken down into steps, you could keep going with the video. For those of you that are comfortable at this point, you could just repeat the steps on the other side. All right, guys, this installation is complete and the bike is now ready to hit some twisties.